Welcome to the show. As always, let's look at the COVID-19 daily change. As of today, as of the 16th, 7-day average 69, new cases were 54 in this state. 2.85 million, none have recovered, with 49,674 deaths in the state of Texas. New Oasis County, 40,746, 763 deaths. United States, 31.6 million, none have recovered, with 568K deaths. Worldwide, 140M, 80M have recovered, 3.1 million have died. The vaccinations, as of today, 34.8 billion, with 34% of the population have had at least one dose, and 22% have been fully vaccinated. California, 16.7, 9.6 have been fully vaccinated or had at least one dose. Cases, California, 1.23 plus 600. 23,601 plus 22. And the daily change. 7-day average, 2,2900, and the new cases have risen to 28 to over 2,000, or getting close to 3,000. This could be the biggest problem ever if we don't follow these tips. Like I've been telling you on every episode of this show, we have to follow these tips. What are these unbelievable tips? Masks must be worn every day. Schools, grocery stores, restaurants, in public convenience stores, every public place that you go to, you need to wear a mask, no matter what. There is no if, no and, no but, no excuse. You need to wear a mask. It is very important for your safety. And the mask has to be at the nose. It cannot be under the nose nor under the chin. It has to be at the bridge of the nose like this. It has to cover the nose. If you're in school, same thing. If your teacher gives you the directions to take off the mask, then you're allowed to take off the mask. If not, the mask stays on, and you have to listen to the instructions of your teacher. Your teacher tells you, you say no to your teacher, you decide to not put the mask on anyway, then you're in trouble. Disciplinary action will be taken. There is no excuse here. Social distancing. The CDC recommends that all students are within 3 feet. Again, if your school does not allow 3 feet, that's within at least 6 feet. That applies to all grocery stores, period. And all stores will recommend you wear masks. It's not mandatory anymore, but it's recommended. The only time you can take off your mask is if you're eating or drinking. Disinfect your area every time. If you're in school, the biggest thing ever, these students don't know how to disinfect areas. It's just simple. Paper towels, baby wipes, simple stuff for you to disinfect your area. It's not rocket science. Before you leave the classroom, you need to disinfect your area immediately. Also, if the janitors have to do it, so do you. Don't you leave that thing for the janitors or for yourself to clean up, or another student who comes in and clean up. You gotta clean up. They got disinfected wipes. They got disinfected spray. If the teacher tells you to do it, you do it. No excuses. If your child's under 2, they cannot wear a mask, that's part of the CDC. If you have a medical condition where you cannot wear a mask, what I would recommend is that you let them know beforehand. They ask, where's the medical proof? Just ask your doctor if you can find the medical proof that you have asthma or any type of medical condition that has COVID in it. Can I allow you to wear a mask? But what has happened ever since Texas ended the pandemic restrictions? Well, KFOX 14 did a report about this. No Concern News in neighboring Donna Ann County, where the positivity rate has dropped down to way down 2% in March. It's since doubled. If it goes up to 5%, possibly the state of New Mexico will repurpose new pandemic restrictions once again. So, if that happens, then New Mexico may be in danger. El Paso County, after Texas reopened March 10th. So what we need to do here is make sure that and in Oasis County for the vaccines, there's been no data. We need to know what we're doing. There's been no data. And I propose if you want the data, you're going to have to talk with your state medical board and ask for the data. That's where the media kind of has it going. Okay, coming up is Columbine month. What I mean by that? 3 days from now, it's going to be the anniversary of the school shooting at Columbine, which happened April 20th, 1999. It's going to be 21 years from now since Columbine High School. We're going to be telling you about the days. We're going to tell you about topics that's going to lead up to the days. Starting with the question: do we need to have metal detectors in our schools to help prevent safety in our schools? We already have police officers, so do we need those metal detectors? We'll have that answer for you after the break. This month is Columbine month, which means between 3 days from now, it's going to be the 21-year anniversary of the Columbine shooting. By looking back at some topics that led up to this moment and going back to some school shootings that led up. So the question: do schools need metal detectors? The answer should be yes, but the educationtrust.org had this question: why do we need schools for metal detectors? Many schools across the country do not require students to walk the metal detectors every day. The truth is that schools with more students of color are more likely to use metal detectors, lock gates, sweeps, and law enforcement hardened schools. Researchers found that the percentage of students of color who attend schools is raised predicator of the presence of these measures. Even when controlling for factors such as neighborhood crime, poor school climate, and other factors may explain school disruption. The research also shows that 50% of more students of color are more than 18 times more likely to use a combination of metal detectors, school police, or locked gates, and sweeps more than 20% of color. In other words, the distinguishing factor of schools that have metal detectors is not even the amount of crime in the neighborhoods. It's whether or not large Black and Latino students attend. There's no evidence, but if you remove the metal detectors, but why are metal detectors in schools? Highly effective training step any firearms students attempt to smuggle into school, whether they're bringing to harm or show up to your friend. They're also used for detecting knives, bombs, and other dangerous items that could pose threat to students alike and staff alike. Why do we have those in our schools? The school doesn't have the money or the resources to bring in those metal detectors. They got off-duty police officers and security guards. But what I think really needs to happen here is that we need those metal detectors. And to do that, we don't need to make any more cutbacks. We need to raise money. But how much does a metal detector cost? Well, for the ones, safety scanner. Portable high sustainment that costs around $9. And I think all schools should require this. You don't need that fancy machine. The price can range from $200 to $500 depending on the function. I think you don't need that. You don't need the big metal detector. I think this should help. Safety inspection and metal detection, sound and vibration. If it helps, if it works for all schools, it should help. It's a handheld metal detector used in airports, subways, exam waiting, and a residential area. It needs to be used in all schools. People can use it to search metal at home, but I find it to be useful for school. So that's what I think needs to happen here. We need to have metal detectors in our schools to make sure that no students bring guns. Also, more off-duty police officers to make sure that everyone's safe in school. Everyone's safe in school, and we don't have to end up in another school shooting. That's why all these policies of school have their zero tolerance. Guns, drugs, weapons. All of these things. There are bad things happening in our schools. Gang activity, drug activity. And specifically, those shootings. The first school shooting before Columbine was in the University of Texas. All 16 placed before Columbine. The Anna Brown School Massacre. This happened back in 1891. Happened back in 1891. 1940. 1955. Cleveland Elementary School. 1979. 1966. November 1966. December 1974. 1976. 1981. 1989, it'd be 10 years. 1991, being 8 years. 88. 1998, 1 year before the shooting, at Thruston High School. Westside Middle School. Another school shootings. All of these were taken just before Columbine. There were 16. If you look at that list right now, you would understand that all those shootings happened long before Columbine. Just long before Columbine. And back then, they didn't have the resources to help. Which leads me to our next point. Here. Arrested. For dumb reasons. It's off topic here, but people should be arrested for bringing a gun to school. But we need to have background checks. We need to have. Texas already passes a bill that would not allow people to have background checks. And the source for all of these going back to Columbine was in the video games. What I mean by that? The video games, like Grand Theft Auto, the biggest game ever popular. You, the player, are out there committing murders, going out, doing some mass shootings, all that stuff. Psychologists say if you play that game, it can cause aggression and violent tendencies. That's the cause of it. That's the cause of people going out and doing shootings. That's the answer to all those shootings. Walmart pulled back because they don't support the shootings. They sell guns, but they don't sell. I mean, some Walmart stores are pulling back because they don't support the school shootings. It is for good reason that the police are police are being in the hallways of classes across the country. But in this climate of controlling behavior, have we gone too far? The answer goes back to 2020 when we come back. Imagine going to the post office and seeing these crimes on those 10 most wanted flyers, classroom edition. Burping, doodling, throwing a tantrum. Bad behavior to be sure, but worthy of arrest at just young age? Everything that's listed are crimes that got kids handcuffed by police. Well, of course we want law and order in our classrooms, but at what cost? Think about it. There's a lot of bad things going on in our school, like guns, drugs, and bullying. From all those videos on the internet, those classrooms run amok. So it is for good reason that more and more police are on the beat in hallways and classrooms across the country. But in this climate of controlling behavior, have we gone too far? Because there was a segment on 2020, back in 2012, called Classroom Confidential, where they focused on the school arresting. People arrested from schools. But today that's going to be different. We're going to be looking at some of the 25 dumb reasons why kids have been suspended for school or arrested. Texting in class, found a food fight. And this one right here, Wisconsin, a 14-year-old Wisconsin girl who decided to pass some time by texting. However, when she asked to stop, 14-year-old ignored the request until the security officers came in and arrested her for charge of disorderly conduct. You shouldn't be texting in class, but that's too much. You can't be arrested in school class. You can't be arrested for texting. Having a food fight. Group of kids between 11 and 15 years old. Reports say piece of food selling out their orange and they yell, "Food fight!" A lot of kids were arrested. It's assault. Cracking a computer in order to change their grades. 2013, three high school students who were on the verge of flunking their classes were arrested after officials found that they hacked into their teachers' computers and improved their grades. 3 students were booked in a juvenile detention for felony charges of tampering with public records and for computer tampering. That should not be in the dumb reasons. That should be worthy of jail time. Missing too many classes. Truancy. An honest student back in 2012 was jailed for missing school. Believe it or not, the 17-year-old girl was forced to spend a night in jail because she was working 2 jobs for her younger siblings. Again, like I said, school is more important than work. Passing gas. A student in Florida was arrested after authorities said she was passing gas and turning off his classmates' computers. According to the report, the sheriff's office of the 13-year-old boy continually disrupted the classroom environment by breaking wind. So, okay, class, so today we're going to talk about who did that? Sexual harassment. A 6-year-old girl was arrested and charged with sexual battery. Sexual battery for inappropriate touching during a game of tag. That was a crime. Sexual battery. What is that? It just basically means in most states it's less serious crime than rape. Crime is often defined as unwanted sexual attention to intimate body parts not consented through some fraud. Sexual battery laws also require the offender to commit the act of purpose, sexual gratification, or arousal. For kissing a schoolmate, that's PDA. No arrest there. Changing a friend's name in the yearbook. Not sure. For yelling, being too lively, climbing on furniture, kissing a classmate, carrying a plastic butter knife. He was arrested and charged with third-degree felony for bringing it out to school. Talking on the phone. Bringing the wrong meal to school. You eat at home, you eat at home. You don't need to be arrested for that. Loving paper airplanes a little too much. For being angry. Doodling on the desk. That's graffiti. And that was the report that was on 2020. Alexa Camacho was arrested for doodling on the desk. She was searched, handcuffed, taken away by 4 of New York's finest. They sued the city after the arrest. Dropping cake on the floor, carrying a lot of money for burping. That was also in 2020. Francisco Montano was 13 years old. He got busted for burping. After that, he sued the city. He sued the school and the police. But the Albuquerque police say they only make arrests if the disruption is limited. The teacher can't teach, and students can't learn. Being an initiative. Opening a Christmas gift early. Spraying perfume. Now that's the dumb reasons why people get arrested. America's Most Wanted for these? Nope. It's ridiculous. Extreme discipline, over the top. Instead of teaching the children and nurturing them, we're hauling them off in handcuffs. Like, we want discipline. We want law and order. We want safety, discipline, and law and order in our schools. But we don't need to see our kids being handcuffed for dumb reasons that should have been easily handled by a parent. We don't need those things. What we need to do is arrest the students for crimes that are harmful, like bringing a gun to school, bringing a weapon to school, drugs, alcohol, state laws that could be possible in prosecution. How about being arrested at just 5 years old for just throwing a tantrum? 2005, the 5-year-old girl was arrested for throwing a tantrum. A tantrum. Most little kids do that, but you can't be arrested for just throwing a tantrum. Cops and kids in the classroom are having there's all kinds of consequences. You just can't make this stuff up. The case is sealed for Alexa, but the arrest is still on the record. The attorney says schools want and it will haunt Alexa for the rest of her life. But for the rest of her life, she has to say, yes, I was arrested. I'll be back in a moment with a preview of tomorrow, or Monday's Give Me a Break. Tomorrow's Give Me a Break. We are still on the case of the Columbine month, and coming up tomorrow, Give Me a Break Sunday, we are going to look at more of the school shootings. Like all these school shootings, and the question is, and looking at the question, sure, teachers bring weapons to school before, and this was when Donald Trump was president. So the question is, do we need to have schools, have teachers bring guns to school to defend themselves? We'll answer that question tomorrow. That's tomorrow. Then I'll give you a break Monday. We're going back to years ago to another school shooting that happened in Florida. Why weren't there police officers there? That's Monday. That's all for this district break Saturday. We'll see you tomorrow if you give a break Monday. We'll see you tomorrow if you give a break Sunday. Follow us here on YouTube. Have a great night. Take care of yourself and each other.